8:21 is our time as we remember the tragic events of this day. We also must remember the lasting impact they have on so many lives. And joining us this morning is somebody who's been at the forefront of the fight for justice and support for 9/11 survivors and first responders. Michael Barasch is a prominent attorney and managing partner at Barasch McGarry. He has spent over 2 decades advocating for those affected by the toxic exposure at Ground Zero, helping thousands access the benefit and health care that they deserve. Michael, good to have you on this morning.
Thank you for having me, Ken. And when you said earlier that today's weather is a lot like it was 24 years ago, I have to just clarify. It's not a lot like it was. It's exactly like there was. I'm in Lower Manhattan now looking at the new World Trade Center building. There's not a cloud in the sky. Yeah. And that's exactly what it was like 24 years ago. And well, a half hour from now and 24 years ago.
Right. It's eerie. It's eerie. I was outside this morning before we went on, and I worked at Channel 7. You may or may not realize for decades, and I was the morning anchor. I was the morning anchor at ABC, and I remember that day like it was yesterday. And this was the weather. This was the weather that day. It's almost like the victims are reminding us to make sure we never forget.
Right. And when the first tower got hit, I was not looking at the tower at the time. We all looked around and we thought it was a small plane, of course. And we were thinking, how could that plane miss? There was no clouding. It was perfect conditions. And then, of course, when the second plane hit, we knew it was not an accident.
Right. Absolutely. Now, we always think of, and rightfully so, the 2,977 individuals who died in the 3 locations on 9/11. But there have been tens of thousands of people impacted after the fact. On that day, Chrissy Todd Whitman was down in Lower Manhattan. She said the air quality is fine, whether she knew or not. And I think the first responders wouldn't have cared. They would have still gone in there and risked their lives because that's what they do. And that's who they are. But tens of thousands of people have been impacted. And we know the specific cancers that have developed come specifically from the stuff that was in the air down there. So talk about how many people were impacted and how you have championed, your firm really has championed to make sure they've been taken care of.
Well, I was fortunate enough to represent and privileged to represent Detective James Zadroga, for whom the Zadroga Health and Compensation Act was named. And Jimmy died at the age of 34 of pulmonary fibrosis. When they did his autopsy, down in New Jersey, they found ground glass, asbestos, benzene, chromium, lead in his lung tissue. And that was the evidence that doctors at NIOSH needed to link all these respiratory illnesses and what is now 69 cancers to the World Trade Center toxins. And I'm so glad, Ken, that you pointed out it's not just first responders who were exposed. Sure, the first responders, they were heroic. And it wouldn't have mattered what Whitman had said that day about the quality of the air. Let's face it, they wanted to reopen Wall Street, and that's why she made that announcement 5 days later. But 300,000 office workers downtown returned to their jobs. 50,000 students and teachers went back to school. 25,000 downtown residents, all exposed to the same toxins as the firefighters and the cops. And by the way, I represent hundreds and hundreds of cops and firefighters from New Jersey who came over here to help out, and they were exposed. And not surprisingly, the former the former office workers who commuted from New Jersey, they're all coming down with these cancers now. Over 8,000 people have now died of a 9/11 related cancer. Over 50,000, not quite 50,000 people have been certified by the World Trade Center health program with a 9/11 related cancer. It's heartbreaking.
And people who may not realize that 9/11 fund is not just for the first responders, but anyone who may have gotten sick as a result of this. Correct?
Yeah, thank you so much. This is a nationwide fund because responders came from all over. All FEMA task force sent their people, and so many people in New York and New Jersey have retired to North Carolina, South Carolina, Arizona, Florida. And they're living down there. So that's why the World Trade Center Health Program takes care of these people in all 50 states. And the Victim Compensation Fund is paying money. It's life-changing money, by the way. And if people lost a loved one it's not too late. If they died of cancer or a respiratory illness, it's not too late for them to make a claim. But they have to know about it. And I so appreciate you bringing this up, because while over 85% of the first responders are in the program, less than 10% of the civilians have enrolled. They just don't know that they're eligible.
I mean, I listen as a journalist. In the first day I was an anchor at the time, so I was in a studio. But within days I was on the scene as well. I know so many reporters who've been impacted as
I
well by
represent, I,
this.
yeah, I represent over 100 reporters who are sick with respiratory illnesses, skin cancer, prostate cancer, breast cancer. So you make sure you're in the health program, my friend.
Well, you know what? I'll give you a call after the show. I'm not kidding. Well, not today, obviously, but we will contact you. It's something that I've thought about over the years, just as a
You
precaution,
got to,
right?
I tell people, first of all, you're not taking away from others, and you're protecting your family. It's like a cancer insurance policy. You owe it to yourselves. So please, even if you are healthy, you should get your proof that you were there. Do it now, because a lot of companies that you may have been working for 24 years ago, they may be out of business. Maybe those coworkers or the kids you went to school with, when was the last time you spoke to them? Well, the government's going to require some witnesses to confirm that you were there. And by the way, a big shout out to Dr. Iris Udison at Rutgers World Trade Center Health Program. She has done an amazing job advocating for the New Jersey responders and survivors and taking care of them. A big shout out to retired New Jersey City police officer Val Velasquez, who single-handedly advocated for the passage of the Ritchie Act. I hope you heard about that, which allows responders who are disabled to get disability benefits now if they came over to New York or went down to the Pentagon or Shanksville, like you were talking about before. These are all places where they were exposed to carcinogens. If they got sick and got disabled, they're entitled to the benefits of the World Trade Center Health Program and disability benefits from the state of New Jersey.
And just to point out something that the former governor of Pennsylvania talked about a little while ago, if you were listening, at this point, right now, it's 8:29. Think about it. There were planes in the air. There was actually the first, I shouldn't say that, planes on the runway. The first plane from Newark International Airport, which became 93, that crashed in Shanksville, it was literally on the runway waiting to take off right now. 8:42 is when it would have taken off. It's 8:29 and a half right now. So it was literally, its jets were going, and this would have been the beginning. Michael, I lived in Hollywood, Florida for a bit, and literally the night before, that's where most of the hijackers had done their training at Pan Am, where they had the simulator training, and they were at a bar and grill called Argentango. I only know because I lived there for a while. Argentango, and they were all in there getting drunk the night before, as became a big story locally. And I just think it's like if we only knew then what we knew the next day, and could have done something to change history, but such is fate and what it is.
Well,
I thank God that your
what?
law firm exists. Yes, sir.
Oh, well, thank you so much for that. It is such a privilege to represent, now over 40,000 people in the 9/11 community, including thousands from New Jersey. But it's important, we've mentioned a couple of things, that civilians are eligible for these wonderful programs. Let's give our government credit that in 2010, they actually did something good. They recognized that the EPA had misled the downtown community, that they had misled the responders. So they passed the Zedroga Health and Compensation Act. Can you imagine today? This is a bipartisan bill. And that's why I've now made 9 trips to Washington in the last 7 months, trying to get more funding for the World Trade Center Health Program, because of the explosion of cancers and the cost of medical care has gone up. The health program is in real danger of running out of money. So we need to get the word out there. All the congressmen and senators in New York and New Jersey are on board here, but we have to spread the word to the legislators in South Carolina, North Carolina, Florida, where so many of our people have retired to, that they need to support the full funding of the World Trade Center Health Program that does so much good, including at Rutgers, taking care of these people. And the hypocrisy that you see today with every politician posting signs saying, "Oh, today we remember, we'll never forget." Well, they're forgetting. They should,
Hmm.
they should get on board and endorse this bill. We now have 82 co-sponsors. We're really making progress, but we need some more support. So if your viewers and listeners can, they know people down in other states, please urge them to call their congressmen and senators and say, hey, live up to your promise to never forget and vote for the full funding of the World Trade Center Health Program. This program is bipartisan and it saves lives.
And Michael, people forget that you don't get exposed today to a cancer-causing element and then get cancer tomorrow. It could be
Right.
50 years. That stuff stays in your system. You could then come down with a cancer. The thing is, we now know genetically that only certain cancers could have been gotten because of exposure to 9/11. So that that's to have glass in your lungs or asbestos in your lungs. We don't use asbestos anymore. So clearly, if you have asbestos in your lungs and you live in Lower Manhattan or Brooklyn or New Jersey, you could have only gotten it then. That would have been the only way. So this is not a game. These people are suffering, and so people have to wake up and realize that that's why we need this funding for decades, not just for the near future.
Yes,
Unfortunately,
thank you. You are right
we
on
have to
board
get
there.
we have to get to the WTC coverage, obviously, sir. But I just want you to give us a website because people will be needing to contact your firm as they have for decades now. What is the website for Barasch McGarry?
Yeah, it's 911victims.com. That's 911victims with an S.com. We'll happily enroll you in the health program, or you can do it yourself. We'll tell you how to do it. You don't need a lawyer, although we are so happy to help you. And as I said, it is a privilege to represent the 9/11 community.
Michael Barasch, managing partner at Barasch and McGarry. You have been instrumental in saving a lot of families. I won't say a lot of lives because unfortunately many of them have been lost because of what happened on 9/11. But at least you gave those families the ability to live on after the tragedy of losing loved ones. Thank you so much for joining us this morning,
Thank
sir.
you. I really appreciate it.
You bet. Have a good day.